Audrey, such a big pleasure to have you here on my podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time to jump on and speak with me today. It's a great pleasure to meet you live because, as I have already mentioned to you in our intro chat, that I've been following you for quite a while because you have an incredible presence on LinkedIn. You really build a personal brand for yourself. And I think you're just like the perfect showcase of what a personal brand means and we'll walk into your story in just a little bit. But right now, you sit at around 68K followers on LinkedIn, if I'm correct, maybe more.
Yeah, I just hit like the 68 mark. So I'm really happy about that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Insane. So I really love to listen to this story of how did you build this personal journey? How much time did it really take you to build this? And what was your life like before and after? Because when people look at personal brands, they don't understand what has been done behind the curtains. They don't understand how much time and effort has been put into it. And they don't really understand the opportunities that came with this, right? If we could highlight those things to people, it will be just, so obvious that everybody should go out there and start creating their personal brand. So please, the floor is yours, Audrey. Tell us all about your story and what got you here.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Diana, and really excited to be on. So, fun fact, right? I may seem very comfortable on LinkedIn now, but I was so horrified when I first started. Like many people, I quit my day job and I was thinking, my goodness, if I start posting on LinkedIn, my ex bosses are there, my colleagues are there, people that used to know me are there. What are they going to say about me? Is she trying to be a content creator or influencer? So I
Yeah.
started with a lot of fear. So even for me, right, it took me 3 months to think about putting myself out there and
Mm.
3 whole weeks to write my very first post. And I was so nervous to post it. At that time, when I first started, I had just launched my consultancy Close with Copy. So I work with founders to do like content strategy, copywriting, positioning pieces, right? These are things that I was very passionate about. But at the same time, I had to find a way to get new clients after quitting my day job. So I couldn't just rely on Fiverr or Upwork, the very traditional forms of looking for jobs. And I had to find clients who were also willing to pay me a slightly bigger budget because on Fiverr, you would tend to see really, really small gigs and projects, which are great for starting out, but very hard to, build an entire business on. So I had to find leads. I had to build a new network. I had no connections, no one that I knew who could refer me to anyone. So, in all desperation and anxiety, I said, you know what? I just got to get started on LinkedIn. And that got me on day one of my journey.
Wow, wonderful. I think a lot of people are actually there. It takes people years to start sometimes, but I think it's all about realizing the real value and sometimes finding yourself like in a place where, okay, this is like really my last option. I have nothing else to do, right? If I don't want to be stuck forever in a 9 to 5 and I want to create something for myself, it's actually the most, I think, like building a personal brand is the most cheapest startup in a way because it requires time and effort, right? It does not require like a capital for you to go there and invest it. It just needs time, consistency, and patience. And of course, professionalism and good service. But tell me, what does your life look right now after how long you've been doing this for?
So, I've been doing this for about 3 years. So, in 3 short years, I think I grew from zero to now about 68K followers. But beyond the vanity matrix, right? Because of course numbers help you to build some kind of authority. I think the doors that LinkedIn opened up for me has been incredible. I never thought that I would be invited to speak at a Microsoft panel about AI. Um, I never thought that I would be paid, you know, such a big amounts to be flown around the world as a speaker. I I never thought that I could get dream clients that would come to me and say, "Hey Audrey, I've been following your content for 7 months. I'm ready to work together." These things were out of reach for me. I think for me, being able to see opportunities like this land because of the hard work and consistency that you've put in, combined with the right strategy that is important, that's when it really brings me satisfaction. And as a content strategist myself, I always say, right, the work should speak for itself. So if I'm so confident in helping my clients grow, I should be equally confident in building my own brand and making sure it works for me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you mentioned here a very important part, which is like putting in the right work, right? Because you see so much people, there's many people, maybe you have the content background and the strategy background, the marketing background, many people don't. So when they go out there and try to build up personal brands, you see a lot of people just putting out content which does not reach, which brings no engagement and potentially brings no really inbound, which equals to no growth to their business or like sales to their courses, whatever the main purpose basically of where that personal brand is. And it's a pity. And it's great that there are people like you and like myself who are actually out there in the market to help those people because uh, I think in the world of AI right now, where everyone is becoming replaceable slightly, right? Personal brand is what actually makes you stand out. If you are a business owner, and then I think you work with a lot of business owners, and you can confirm that people like to work with people, right? And so if you're a business owner and you don't have a personal brand and your business is not associated with a face, that's a big loss, right? Maybe you can tell me some client stories of yours, like the difference that they made like before they actually started building a personal brand and building like the right content strategy, and like after. That would be also very here.
I think a lot of people they post content, but they don't see the results, right? So I have had clients who were posting content for like two 2 years consistently. I have another client who hired a ghostwriter every single month. They did content. Some of their content got them viral, but it didn't get them the right inbound leads. Because why? They were writing without the right strategy. So they were writing for visibility, but not for lead generation. So there's also a nuance and not everybody sees that. Some people think that content is content. Then there are also folks who post content, but nobody really, cares about the content that they put out because there's nothing in it for the audience. So if all you talk about is, oh, look at this amazing few events that I've been to, I'm super cool, I'm super awesome, it's great. But there is no tangible value for the audience, right? So, as much as they see you as being visible, they may not know why they should work with you and why they should reach out to you. So, even in this tiny discussion, you can already see how there are a lot of nuances that you have to massage. So, my client who had a ghostwriter for 2 years with zero inbound came to me. We reworked her positioning, figuring out why is she the one you should work with in the crowded marketplace. We rebuilt her content strategy. We relooked at formats that she have not experimented. And within 2 weeks, she got her first inbound. That is the crazy shift that content can make if done right. So even another one of my other clients in the legal space, she had a really good network, right? Because she was a senior legal professional, but she hasn't tapped on it yet. So when we built out her strategy and she implemented it thereafter, it got her lots of new business and referrals from her network because she was being seen as an authority, right? And recently, one of her posts that we did together, it got her 4 inbound inquiries with one LinkedIn post. That's the power of content. $0 ad spend, one post, getting you 4 potential big ticket items. I think there's really good ROI for a personal brand. So if you are thinking, is personal branding a right channel for me? It has a lot of potential and you're not going to be pouring thousands of dollars into it like what you would do in on Meta when you're running ads, or if you're hiring a full agency to do SEO, then these are things that you also have to factor in terms of cost. Whereas your personal brand, it literally costs $0 if you are the one doing it, putting in the work and having the right strategy to drive it.
Yes, this is very true. It's very unfortunate that the market has been saturated with a lot of ghostwriters who lack maybe strategy. And this is why a lot of people have those bad experiences where they spend 2 years of trying to build something with no results. And I'm glad you're actually putting it out there that this is not the case. When you really understand the right strategy between the marketing and just the thinking how you should position your messaging. The message is incredibly important. And the biggest problem I run with my clients is like when I go on their LinkedIn page or their website, personal website, there's so much information, so much things that they do. And it's actually like less is more, right? The more you can remove all those things, the more you make it easier for a person to understand what you do, is the better. So our goal is like always to make sure your messaging is so clear. Make sure the problem that you're solving is super clear, and make sure your offer is just out there in front of the people, making it like impossible for them not to go and, give you a call. But simplifying all of this, it really takes time and effort, and you would know that, right? This is like the most important, this is the most difficult part of our job, actually saying the right things in the shortest amount of words possible to make it just so easy for people to understand.
Yeah, I love that you said that, right? Because people think that more content is better, but actually, the best writers say what they need to say in the shortest sentence possible. Because people don't have a very long attention span now. You need to capture them within the first like 5 to 10 seconds. So, even on LinkedIn, right? Your LinkedIn profile is your landing page. When somebody hops on your profile, they need to know immediately what you do, what you stand for, and why they should follow you. I just spoke to a prospect recently and he said, Audrey, but I'm doing like tech, I'm doing, startups, but I'm also starting like a strawberry business. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. But which is your focus, right? Like what are you working on right now? And what is your focus? And he said it's a strawberry business. And I said, it's cool that you said that because it isn't actually being reflected, in your banner, in your about. And it's only when I look at his content that, hey, you see some mentions of it. But if that is the focus, right, it needs to be front and center. So people should know you for one thing. When people come to me, they know me for building brands that convert. They know that I'm really good with AI, copywriting, and strategy. That's the only thing I need them to know about me. Even if I can do 10 million things, I need to focus. So find your focus and your audience will look for you.
Yeah. I think many people usually start this journey with being lost in their focus, trying to figure out how they want to be positioned. And that's actually normal. That's natural. Everybody goes through that journey. Even myself, I'm a professional marketer for over almost a decade. But when I want to position myself online, it took me some time to really what service I want to be showcasing and selling, right? And at the end, it ended up going towards personal branding because this is what I really believe is the most valuable type of service to be offered right now and the most in demand. So, but it's very natural to be lost along the way. But this is why, once again, you need the help of strategists like yourself to really come sit down with the person and help them figure out what are you offering. Let's make it clear. So yeah, thank you for that valuable input. You did mention about AI. AI is, I think, when AI hits, you might have been one of those people who were like, "Oh God, I'm a content writer. What is going to happen to me?" Walk me through that journey.
Yeah, it was funny you said that because my client literally sent me a text message with the link to ChatGPT. And then he was like, Audrey, you're going to be replaced. And then he sent that to me. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? And interestingly, it was the same time that I launched my consultancy. So imagine quitting my day job, having my existing client text me that, having no leads, trying to figure out, if I should be on LinkedIn or not. That was a lot, right? A lot of like uncertainty. But I think what I've learned during this process is the ability to grow and pivot and test things quickly. So what I did instead was to lean into AI. And I think because I was in such a interesting spot in my life that I was one of the first movers to learn how to use AI as a copywriter because I had a need, right? And I had to figure out how do I leverage it to grow. So in my own workflows now, I'm really lean on AI to build out a lot more efficient workflows for my clients. But I always tell them your input equals your output, and your input has to be done with a strategic lens. So, for example, if you ask ChatGPT, hey, write me a post about, landing pages that convert, sure, they can pull information and put together a post. But it's going to be a very surface level post. It's not going to really capture the depth and nuance of knowledge that I know. So, in order for it to craft a high quality post, my input needs to be a lot better and stronger. So even right now, when I build projects or GPTs, it's always with the client's profile in mind, their target audience pain points, the competitive landscape, the knowledge that I want it to pull information from, then crafting a prompt in a smart way that extracts this information without being too technical or without being too superficial. So how do you find that lens, right? Those are all copywriting skill sets plus AI skill sets combined into one, and then it forms that Venn diagram.
you definitely went the right path, right? Because anybody right now, I mean, wherever your career is, you should be leveraging AI to maximize your skill set and, to uplift you. And you did exactly that. And this is why you are where you are right now with the success that you have. Because at one point in time when I was offering similar services to clients, and there was still discussion about should we use AI or AI is very generic, and people haven't figured out yet how to train AI well for it to be authentic, right? I was hesitating a lot. Do I use it a lot? Do I not use it a lot? But over this period of time, once, as you mentioned, you have to pivot, you have to learn, you have to test. And now I sit at a place where I've trained my ChatGPT so well on my profile that all it takes me to create my content is one line of text. Create me the content for this week, which is remarkable. Like when I'm writing this and I see the content generated, I'm like, wow, this is happening. But behind this is month and months of training, fighting with ChatGPT, like putting rules for it to remember. It's like so much work and effort that had been put into this that now I have this output. But when I reach this output, it's incredibly remarkable. So what I do now is I replicate the same ChatGPTs for my clients, and I just really feed them into all of the client information into those ChatGPTs, and get the same similar output. So it's really incredible what AI can do right now. It can just skyrocket your content, and I think it's incredibly important because we are in such a busy digital world right now. It's a content overload. So much content is being output out there. As you mentioned, attention spans are like attention spans of a fish, unfortunately. But this is the reality. So, I mean, to stand out, you need two things. You need high quality content and a lot of it. And you cannot do it, you cannot compete with people without using AI. So I'm just wondering what other AI tools are you actually using out there? Just some like behind the scenes information about what Audrey's actually using apart from ChatGPT, any specific tools, any specific workflows that you actually implement in your daily kind of work with your clients.
Yeah, I can recommend a couple of tools that I found very handy. Well, if you are editing videos, you would want to look at Descript. Descript is really good because you get to edit videos based on the transcript. So, assuming we want to edit this podcast, instead of scrubbing, the 1 minute 55-second mark, I can just delete spaces, delete ends, that is very powerful. If you combine that with another tool like Opus Clips, for example, that gives you mini short form videos that are also highly engaging, or Submagic. These are some tools out there you can experiment with. So that's number one, right? Creating video content. Although based on LinkedIn's current algorithm, it doesn't prioritize videos as much. I think it's still important because it gives people that human connection. So hearing us chat, you know what? Audrey feels like, you know what Diana sounds like, right? And then you get a sense of who we are, and that bridges that, online offline disconnect. So that's number one. And number two, if you are not using it already, Canva, of course, is a lifesaver. So if you look at Canva or another tool called Vengage, these two tools are great for creating carousels. If you have a blank slate of mind and you need some inspiration, these two tools can also help. And then maybe the third tool that I like to use is Gemini's Nano Banana. And this time I would say Pro, because the quality of output for images are so good. It is super high quality. You give it very simple prompts and you can use it to create almost anything. So if you want to give out like an ebook, like a lead magnet, in the past you would need to get a designer say, please create this in the book form, and make it look like a giveaway post. That would have taken someone a couple of hours. Now you can do it in a few seconds with Gemini's Nano Banana. Or if you want to create like a photo of yourself, you can create a photo of yourself working at a cafe. You can create a photo of yourself in a podcast studio. And the insane part is it looks so real that I'm sure most people wouldn't be able to tell if it's AI or not. So use it, of course, ethically, use it sensibly, but if you use it in a creative way, it can really help your LinkedIn game, go to.
Yeah, those are amazing too. I use all of them. Thank you for highlighting them. And the main point actually here is that it's become so easy to create content, right? the time and effort and the cost that has been people used to put in before has now decreased by tenfold, right? So much easier to create videos. I remember using Riverside right now for the recording. It's very similar to what you mentioned. If you're just removing text, we said a bad sentence, just remove it. Incredibly easy. I'll also add a couple of ideas to some other tools. Like I love captions.io. I'm not sure if you've tested it. It's incredible. It gives you like the video editor effect. If you have a short form like reel, which is like a face, I'm filming myself speaking about a topic. I just drop it in and get like an edited video output. Incredible. Something would have taken an editor do like 2 to 3 hours to edit. And I also love Gamma. I'm not sure if you love Gamma as well. It's great for landing pages, like you mentioned, lead magnets, which are extremely important to have if you're building your brand. And the easiest way to create actually a lead magnet or landing page is Gamma. Incredibly easy. So much tools out there, and this is why I went into personal branding, because personal branding has become so easy. The tools have become so accessible, and it's just a pity if people don't do it, right? If you don't have enough time on your hands, you go to somebody who can actually deliver the service for you. Like I think you do manage clients' accounts completely, right? And you do some consultancy work as well. I would assume that. But and through your content, you're educating people who are maybe unable to afford the service, an agency service, but still you're giving them that value through your content. So you're targeting all of those different audiences, but just at different money levels, let's say, because you believe that personal branding is the way to go. So you're putting out a lot of valuable information out there. So if anybody's not has not followed your page, I really advise them to go and follow it. I take a lot of insights from your page myself on a daily basis. By the way, how much do you post? Is it daily? How much should be one posting right now on LinkedIn to get that exposure and reach?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is getting a lot more competitive also because there is a lot more AI generated content out there. So honestly, most people are finding it a bit harder to post or get their content seen, especially if they are perhaps like just starting out or at a certain threshold. So with that in mind, I always emphasize that if everyone is going to be posting more content, you have to be smarter about your strategy. This is where strategy is going to make a super big difference, right? Even for me, I had to experiment so much. Right now, I'm posting 4 to 5 times a week, but also because LinkedIn is a key channel for me in terms of opportunities. If you are, for example, a busy executive and you don't really need leads, all you want to do is to profile yourself to open up new doors, then maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, good enough, depending on your objective. But if you are focused on lead generation, building pipeline, then of course, being a lot more consistent is going to pay off. So it's not just about quantity, right? But it's about the quality. In the past, people would think if I created a cheat sheet about the top 10, LinkedIn tools or top 10 AI tools for XYZ, it will always do well. You would realize now that it doesn't. So the same piece of content can do really well on one person's account, but flop on another person's account. Why? Because the content itself now has a lower value to people out there as they realize that, hey, there are so many people creating these types of content. So that value of the content is actually diminishing. So the only way your value is going to increase is if they feel like you are the expert in this field. Therefore, this piece of content is valuable. So, someone talking about 50 different AI tools today will not perform as well as someone talking about 50 different AI tools 1 year ago when it was still new, right? So, the person coming in today has to find another way to win. And my advice is to figure out okay, you can talk about 50 different AI tools, but how do you blend it with your expertise? So it could be 50 different AI tools that a marketer of 10 plus years of experience endorses. Simple tweak, you personalize it, make it unique, add your perspective, build credibility. That asset becomes a lot more personalized, but also a lot more effective. So of course, quantity is important, but if you are just starting out, I highly recommend you look at the quality of the content that's being put out.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I completely agree with you. You did also mention examples. You know, when we talk about personal branding, we always relate it to like founders. You have a business owner, you build a personal brand. So personal branding was kind of a bit of a luxury along the years, right? You're wealthy, you have you have a business that's running, you create a personal brand for yourself, build an authority, you become well known. It opens new opportunities. Very, very casual. But I think the biggest value may be in personal branding for professionals, for people who have been climbing the corporate ladder for years, who have so much expertise. But then I can relate because that was me. You know, after a decade and working for global companies, you figure out, okay, I haven't built a brand for myself. I'm building brands for people. I haven't built a brand for myself. What a pity. And then the epiphany hit me. How how am I a good marketeer? How didn't I think of it? Because I think it's a bit natural when you work for people, especially when you like become very dedicated at what you do. You want to deliver the best of service. This is how you climb the ladder, the corporate ladder. But then at one point in time, you realize, okay, so much time invested into others' dreams, not into mine. It's such a pity. I think you might have felt something very similar, but I think the biggest benefit actually is to professionals in personal branding because there's so much ways that you can turn your knowledge. I call it like monetize your knowledge, right? You can turn it into courses, webinars, consultancy, so much different things just from what you know. Were you in the? What did you feel the same way?
Yeah, so it's interesting you mentioned that because this was something that a client of mine just told me yesterday. She said, Audrey, I've been doing this for 30 years, but I've never thought of, doing something for myself. And I want to do something for myself. And I'm so glad to hear that, right? So at different stages of your life, you want different things. For some of my clients, they start building their own businesses at 50 and they're ready because they have so much experience, so much knowledge to give. But at the same time, they don't really know how to start leveraging their network and their knowledge to create business for themselves or unlock a new opportunity. And I like to tell them that, hey, the best time to start building is when you still have a job and you're still comfortable here because you don't want to wait till you want to make a move, then you start posting. That is something that's going to put you in a bit of a tricky situation. So while you are happy at your job, you're thriving, why not already start building this asset that is yours? Because your personal brand is your personal asset. If you move, it's okay because this asset is something that you own and people tie your expertise to you, not only the company. So I highly encourage anyone thinking about it to get started. Either way, whether you want to build something of your own, whether you want to open new doors for potential career jumps, headhunters and recruiters are also on this platform, scouring for people who seem different, talented, or have a unique perspective. And if nobody is doing so in your field and you are one of the thousands, right, putting yourself out there, you are already going to be a step ahead. So think about that. While you don't know what you might want in the future, this is an investment that's going to open the door for you to get to wherever you want to be in the future.
100%. And I would like to highlight the word investment. When I speak to people, I jump on calls with them and they look at personal branding like a hobby, something like something to do. But I tell them this is a business. You should be looking at it that you're investing time and effort into a business. This is no different than a startup. And if you put the right time and effort, this is the best investment you can put into your professional life because it's yours and nobody can take it away, right? And it creates you what's is most important for me is the freedom of location, time, independence, right? When you work at a company and for years, for decades, and you climb this corporate ladder, like I've been CMOs, what's the highest marketing position? CMO. Okay, I've been there so many times, and you're like, okay, what else? CEO, what else, right? But you find yourself you're stuck. Like I've been working remotely for years, so I don't do like the commute like for almost 5, 6 years now. So I'm past that phase, but some people still do it, which is mind blowing to me. And so are you have the freedom to travel the world, see the world, and just work on your own terms. And this is the most important part for me when I started this journey, because this is the life, is like, what life do you want to build for yourself, for your family? Tell us a little bit about what your life turned into.
Maybe one thing I would say is if you think starting your own business means less time at work. I would say that's firstly a big misconception. You still have to spend time building your business, but you have the flexibility in terms of how you want to control your time. So the freedom comes when you get to choose clients you want to work with. You get to choose the hours that you want. So if you prefer working at night or on weekends, that is entirely up to you, right? You get to squeeze in things you enjoy in between, and that's part of the process. But I think more importantly, it gives you opportunity to pursue something that would otherwise have not been possible. And I hear this from so many of my clients who share their entrepreneurial journey with me, who also talk about that joy that they get from building something that's theirs. So if there is maybe one last piece of advice I can give our listeners here is, if you are considering it or on the fence, this is probably your sign today after this podcast to get started. There is no real cost to it. There is no real, what's the worst that can happen, right? If you think about it, the worst that can happen is, okay, maybe your peers might be like, yeah, posting on LinkedIn, right? They don't have an asset that they own. So that is the worst that can happen. And then on the flip side, I would like to pose you, listener, the question, what is the best that can happen? And I think you can make a decision for yourself.
Exactly. This is a beautiful note to end the podcast on, with a call to action for all the listeners to really get started. And the best way to get started actually to follow Audrey. Her advice is incredible about how to use AI tools, how to use AI workflows, how to create content that actually reaches all right audiences, has the right strategic messages inside of them, actually gets you results. So you don't go the round the rabbit hole of years creating content without any benefit. So when you follow somebody like Audrey, you get to your results fast. I really thank you for your time, Audrey. It was so wonderful speaking to you. There's so much beauty when you speak to people who are really passionate about what they do. This is the beauty of speaking with people who build their personal brands, because it's all about passion. You really enjoy what you're doing. It gives you pleasure. You enjoy working with the clients. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the beautiful content you put out there.
Thank you for having me too, Diana. It was a pleasure. So if you guys want more information, feel free to check out my LinkedIn profile. I share lots of great tips on how you can build brands that convert with AI, copywriting, and content strategy. So I'll see you over there.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you. Bye bye.